Welcome to Decorating Pages podcast, Emmy nominee Roundtable for the set decorators of 1 hour contemporary period and fantasy. We have with us Regina Graves of the show Fallout. Hello, Regina.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Ellen Reed for Palm Royale.
Hi there. Thanks for having me as well.
Alessandra, I cannot pronounce your last name. Help me.
It's very difficult.
Quitzola for Ripley.
Yes.
Lisa Lancaster for Shōgun.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. And Jonathan Lancaster for Shōgun.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. I think my first question is, how do you two work together? How does that go?
Actually, it works. It really works seamlessly.
Yeah.
Sometimes we work on shows mostly together and sometimes separately. And I actually totally prefer it together. We have a lot of fun with it. And, you know, when you're doing these shows, you're living, eating, and breathing them anyway. So, you know, you go home, we talk about it, we live it. I have some strong suits, he has some strong suits, and you know, you just bring more to the production, and it's a whole lot of fun.
Right. I would think there must be some huge strengths to that and some downfalls, but I mean huge strengths of like you're always available to talk about it. You're always available to
It never stops.
yeah.
What we're doing, we just kind of, well, it always reverts back to what we're working on.
Right.
But and I mean, life too. Yeah.
Do you work together often?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, then you must have it figured out. You must you must work out.
And you know, and we get that question a lot. And
Yeah.
it actually, like I said, when you're doing these shows and you're researching them and you're going through them, I mean, they're fast paced, and that is what these feature quality television shows are all about.
Yeah.
And you know, we just make it our life. And then when the show is done, we take a break and we do something totally different, and usually travel and then look at more history and architecture, and it all goes hand in hand. So fortunately, we enjoy it together, and it makes it a lot of fun. Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.
No. As a broad question for all of us, I wanted to ask, what is a TV show or a film that inspired you to get into design or decorating? So, Ellen, do you want to go first?
Um, let me think. Maybe skip somebody else for a moment. Let me think about that for a hot moment.
I know Ellen you started in interior design, right? You started in.
I did. I started in corporate interiors in New York, and I did that for about 10 years before moving here.
Right. So you had a whole kind of a different career before getting into this. So,
I
all right.
did. You know what? Actually, I can tell you, it was Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I would say that was definitely very inspiring for me.
Mm. Lisa, do you want to go next?
I would have to say I have a very diverse interest in shows across the board, and so it's so hard to pick one. I also started in interior design and design build, and that's what I did before I fell into film. And when Jonathan and I got married, he was actually working on Battlestar Galactica. And we took our daughter to his sets, and she came so alive. She really thought that she could start up the spacecraft. And so, in all honesty, I think because we got together, and even though it may not be the architectural design of some things, that show and the experience when we were new in our, you know, fairly new in our marriage together, really inspired myself to switch careers, and that is kind of what happened with us versus, you know, one particular film. I love film. I love many eras. I love the period films the best. That I have to say is something that I'm interested in. But it was actually the excitement and the enjoyment that we saw on our daughter's face
Hmm.
that inspired me to jump into it with Jonathan. And that's really the truth of it.
No, that's beautiful. I hear you on that. Jonathan, so you were on it before. You
I've
might
been doing this for a while. Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm a sci-fi guy at heart. Honestly, as a kid, as a kid, I watched television series with my dad, who was a big sci-fi guy. I loved the battle, Doctor Who's, and things like that. So I went through there, and the movie wise, it's cliche in some ways, but Star Wars was probably the one that, as a young boy, looking at that, going, somebody built this, like somebody made this. This is cool. I can do this, maybe.
yeah.
Mm.
And that triggered me, and then just yeah, as the industry grew up here, and as I grew older, it kind of went hand in hand with it. So it was that's what got me going. And then of course I met Lisa, and she explained the rest of it. So by then I was on Battlestar. Mhm. So,
Oh, that's great. But that's great that you got into sci-fi when you were into it.
yeah, I was very lucky that way. I mean, I love the period stuff too. It's very exciting in many ways, and building things that don't exist anymore is where I kind of gravitate to. But in general, it's that would be the one that probably got me going. Film is
Yeah, Star Wars is
yeah,
definitely on my list.
my thing, Star Wars, but
That's a good one. Regina?
So I wouldn't say got me into film, but I started out also going to school for interior design, and what jump started that was really Willy Wonka and the old Willy Wonka, the original, and I would say Flashdance. There are a couple different ones, and they're all different. Flashdance, Fatal Attraction, and Amadeus. So all different time periods there, but they all just wanted, they all just created a spark. I always wanted to live in a loft like Fatal Attraction, like Glenn Close down over in the meatpacking district. So
And Flashdance. She lived in a loft.
and Flashdance, yeah, she pulled her car right up in the elevator. I mean,
Yeah.
that was my
It
dream.
was so cool. Yeah. There's something about that. There's something about those movies and living in New York made it so romantic and like it's doable. Like, yeah, those are great ones.
I always wanted to move to New York because of those movies and become an interior designer, but instead I became a set decorator. So it all worked out, I think.
Yeah.
I never lived in the loft, but came close.
Yeah. Alessandra?
Well, I think as I never thought about movies or working in the industry, it just came on my way
Mm.
because I left home very young. I attended a wonderful school in Trieste of interior design, and then I left home very young. I was 17 or 18, something around, to attend the academy in Venice, and then all my adventure started because in Venice you were getting a lot of little jobs. I had to, support myself. I did a lot of theater in the first place, and really that is the place where I enjoyed I kind of got fascinated by the group of people working together and making things up together. And I think I've been hooked about the community, about the crew, about yes, exactly, working together. And then I did theater, I did the TVs, and then later on in the 90s I started to do movies. But I never questioned myself where I was going, because I was always happy to doing what I was doing. I have to say that I was born on top of the small cinema. So from the age of 6, 7, we were going to the movies every Saturday, every Sunday, and on Thursday. But I kind of recall these memories much later. So they came up much later when I was already an assistant decorator and all of that. But I've been very lucky to find good, great person, very generous, because you can only go on if you find generous people in the industry
Yeah.
that teach you, that, let you go and let you do your things. And I really appreciate them all, I mean, I have several people that I would like to thank. And so, yes, but I never kind of said to myself, oh, I want to do that. It just happened day by day. And here I am, still questioning myself how I got here. And I'm still very arts and craft.
Mm.
I have this side of me that I love to making things. I like to, nothing that come on set is straight from the workshop and on set. I always need to kind of elaborate, adapt it, and I'm a little bit hooked on that kind of process. So that's it.
I was when looking at all of the projects that you guys were on, you're all on period uh things. I mean, I know that Regina's is kind of in the future, so she had to like make up things, but there is a lot of throwback of atomic and kind of mid-century going on there. And I wanted to ask about sourcing the pieces that you had to get. And with Ellen in Palm Royale, for you in sourcing all of that wonderful pieces, did you find pieces and then have them reupholstered? Like, because you have so much color going on. How was and this also goes along with like budget and everything. So just to talk about pieces that you had and had to have made and things like that. And Shōgun, I mean, I know you had to have pieces made, obviously. So just to talk a bit about that.
Sure. We, a lot of, I reupholstered almost everything. Unless we got lucky enough to find it in a prop house in the perfect fabric that fit our colorway and our environment, and occasionally that happened. There were some ancillary pieces that would work. Most of it got reupholstered though. And, we sourced, depending on what set they were for, if they were for a perm set, a lot of times we would purchase and um, or we did rentals as well. Sometimes we'd find amazing pieces and they'd be $10,000 for a chaise or $15,000 for an incredible chaise. And Kathy Rosen was one of my buyers, and she's just incredible, and she's so diligent, and she knew I fell in love with something. She would work so hard to find a less expensive version of it, and she found this swan chaise, and she found it was just like it was a frame basically, and it was in a workshop in the back, and it needed a ton of work, and so she made a deal to buy it, and then we completely repainted it, refinished it, reupholstered it, that type of thing, to meet our budget. So, and then all of the drapery we had to create, and the drapery was a lot of drapery was done in Norma's mansion, in the Delacorte mansion, and I was inspired by Tony Duquette for that mansion. And his drapery is elaborate. There's a trans-matted trim and painting on it and things of that nature. So we, there was not one trim that was enough for to give the look. So I would layer multiple trims, sometimes 3 and 4 trims on the drapery to get the look I wanted. And then we would have the paint department come and literally paint on the fabric. In her bedroom, we painted on the fabric to match the wallpaper. And then in the smoking room, we painted on the fabric to create this sort of this tableau that went with the little puppet show that was going on below, which was a reference to Norma being Grand Puppeteer of Palm Beach. She really, controls everybody and everything in Palm Beach, and so we had that painted. So it was a mix of sourcing, and there's some great resources out there. Luckily, we could find a lot locally. We went to some great estate sales. We got very lucky with one estate sale. It was an estate sale of an actress who her name is Yvette Lemieux, and she worked in the 60s, for MGM,
Oh, wow.
and she was friends with Tony Duquette, shockingly. And so when we looked at her things, I was like, these look like something look like Tony Duquette pieces or inspired by. And so we went there, with the truck and Kathy, and we started just, I mean, literally, I want this and I want this and I want this. And the house manager came up to me and she said, "You're buying a lot of things." And, and I hadn't even gotten to speaking to her yet. And she said, is this for a product? Like, what are you working on? And so I told her, and she said, I can't believe it. She said she was friends with Tony Duquette. And
That's
so
crazy.
it really, I mean, it's terrible that she passed away, but it was a really
Good
fortuitous.
timing.
It was fortuitous for the sets. And what's so nice about it is that, she worked in this industry and now her belongings, which she absolutely adored and loved, get to live on
Yeah.
forever in the show, right? And so the manager of the house said, her bed is really not something we were going to include in this estate sale here. But because of what you're doing, I want to show it to you and see if you're interested. And then I loved it. And it became Carol Burnett's bed.
Is that the big
Emily's bed.
canopy bed?
Canopy bed.
Oh my
So
God.
it was all tin and white in the house.
Oh my God, that's great.
All tin and white. So I took all the fabric off. I took the fabric off the headboard and the drapery and everything, and I remade it. And I think there were like 4 different fabrics that we used for it to go with our color scheme.
What timing?
I love that it became, it looks like a crown, and so it really became from her bed to Carol Burnett's bed, and such an icon, right? To have that be her bed, it was perfect. It's sort of a beautiful, what I think is really a beautiful Hollywood story.
That's awesome. That is great timing.
Yeah.
Alessandra, I know that you were in so many different locations in Italy and then also doing things in black and white. Were you sourcing things and thinking about like, oh, the color and pattern and everything having to work? And how did that work out with
It
shooting?
was difficult at the very beginning. I was totally scared about the black and white. I wasn't really convinced about it. I
Mhm.
have to say, I have to admit. But then when there was a special key from David, like the black is the black and the other colors are the reflections. So keeping that in mind all the time, I kind of started to like the idea of the black and white. And of course, it was very important to keep the harmony in the color scheme. Uh, that was helping. And but then you get used to thinking black and white. And I started to really love it. And yes, it was difficult also at the very beginning to escape from the classical uh, Italian traditional, postcard,
Hmm.
which is normally colorful, tomatoes and blue skies and um, you know, blue sea and all of that. But Steve was terrible, a great, great master for that. Uh, he was communicating in a wonderful way, and I've been kind of kidnapped about his visions. As he says always, he hates the blue skies, and starting from that, that was really interesting. Mind you, we had a very long prep time, and this was really helping everybody. And we had a complete, we had the first set 5 weeks before shooting ready, and
And
in
and you were through, everyone was through COVID, right? Ellen, were you through COVID?
yes, we went through COVID.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, everyone else I think was shooting and prepping through COVID. I don't think you were. Were you, Ellen? You
We
weren't.
were after. We were
You were
after.
after COVID. Yeah. Everyone else had like long,
Testing. We were still testing at that point,
yeah. No.
late COVID, I guess we'll call it.
Yeah. Because I know that David had talked about also just location scouting before COVID and then shutting down and everything. So you guys had that time, but not really. You still were like, dressing and being, still dressing on top of camera and everything. So it didn't matter.
Well, both did make it exceptionally tricky
Yeah,
because for us, every single thing you see, we had to build,
right.
and everything was made from scratch. So set deck, did
Yeah,
everything from molding to metalwork. It was and the fabrics, but sourcing the bases of even the materials to pour a mold became difficult, as we all know, because COVID, the shipping supply chains were really, really tough.
right.
And it was definitely an issue. COVID added a whole new trick to this.
Yeah. It's surprising still, even now, the ripple effect of like, getting things from COVID and like the shipping and quantity and everything that we still deal with for our world. We're still really affected by it. So yeah.
We
Um,
did hacks in COVID. It was so challenging. It was like
yeah.
early, we were 6 months into COVID. It was so difficult.
Yeah.
And
Um, so then so Lisa, you for getting most of the furniture you had to build, correct?
It's not just the furniture; it was
Well,
absolutely everything. I used to
all of it you had to build because
Oh yeah,
you sent
because
to
everything
China. I mean,
that's right. And we really worked. I mean, Helen Jarvis, our production designer, she was absolutely wonderful with her vision and how she wanted to do it and build the sets and shoot it. But then to dress those sets was an enormous undertaking because other than say we had the tatami mats manufactured, but those particular things also came in, and then we had to redo all the fabric on them. And really, so those were the only items that were bought and then modified and painted, and the rest of it. But every single other piece, we had metal workshops going, we had forges going, we were sculpting, we were painting. Even the cannons, they all had to be sculpted and then hard coated, and everything was carved. The carts, we would buy an antique cart from Japan, cut it up, throw it on a plane, and then figure out how to manufacture a wheel because we needed dozens of carts. So everyone had to be built. The samurai boats, that's a whole other thing that we
right,
worked with props as well to build. But every single piece, you even take something as simple as the sake barrels or any of the barrels that you'll see throughout. Well, the whole idea of weaving the bamboo that straps them together is a process that takes somebody about 30 years to learn. And of course, we have a few months. And so there was all sorts of ingenious ways to come up with things, to build things, to get them to camera fast enough with these big sets. And so we worked with the historians. We took the scrolls, and literally there were days where we had our own graphic art, or not graphic artist, but we had our own drafts person in, or half the time I would draw it out on a piece of paper and use a scale and then say, build this. And it would come off of a scroll, and we would talk to the historians and we get an approval because we were in the Sengoku period in the 1500s versus the Edo. So it wasn't like you could just, even if you were lucky enough to find an antique in Japan and have it sent to Vancouver where everything was shot, it would have to be modified because it wouldn't have been correct to our
right.
Sengoku, which was extremely important from the Japanese perspective. So the level of research and learning was second to none. Um, and to build every piece from the rivets to the metal. I'll let Jonathan expand a little further on it. But,
Again, I don't need to say anything. Yeah, no, yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it was very challenging for many things. And literally, we would go back, and we were very lucky. We had a facility that was quite large, and props was one end, we were the other. We had our shop in the middle. We had an outdoor space that was stored when it wasn't raining in Vancouver. It was great. Um, and then we had we had the forge going. We had a small foundry that we would pour some of the wall sconces in the end out of aluminum and then paint them to be on the wall. But we started with boats, which were, I mean, I think in the end we made 22 or 23 boats between us and props. And originally, I always remember the original comment from Aaron, our producer. Oh, don't worry, we won't have actors in the boats. They'll just be background. All the boats that the guys are sitting in the middle of the ocean.
Right.
So it was like, okay, well, Celtic's building boats now. Great.
That's transpo. No.
Yeah, they were terrified. They didn't want to touch it.
But
And
it really was epic because even right from everything literally had to be carved, and you take as simple as any kind of a tool or knife, or of course seaweed, the fish. We would go get live fish, or not live fish, frozen fish from the market. We'd pour molds from them, and then of course do it that way. So like I said, I want it back every day because it was the hardest thing we have ever done, and I just want to do it again.
Mm. I know you miss the pain. And you
yeah,
miss
it,
and then with
it's a real problem.
and
It
and
was
and then with Regina, I mean, you're basically have this like amazing video game that everyone knows that you like can't like, I'm sure the fan mail was like ridiculous if you like falter from one thing, but and then you're 50, 60 years into the future. I mean,
Oh, even more.
more 70? I don't remember the year you were in, but like
Like 200 years in the
oh,
future, but yeah, it's like crazy.
yeah.
The fans really were, that was like the stressful part for us because this game had such a following and has such a following. So we had to be on point with any kind of choices that we made. And we really had to be true, you know, to the game and the look of the game for the gamers.
Right.
But like everyone else, I mean, there was so much stuff that we had to fabricate and build. I mean, even though that we had like this mid-century post-apocalyptic look going, there was a lot of furniture that, yeah, I could find, you know, originals for. And I got really lucky finding things that were beautifully upholstered. I also got really lucky with, buying mid-century knockoffs from like Wayfair and Amazon because I needed multiple colors. We had to be consistent throughout the game and throughout the different vault bedrooms and with like our overseer's office. So we basically used the same style furniture and just bought it in like 5 different colors and gave it all like a different theme.
Mm.
And that was really helpful to go with that. And then like we had to fabricate all the wallpapers because inside the game, everything is like these over exaggerated, atomic prints. So we designed the wallpapers. We had to design all the flooring and like all the carpeting, and the curtains with all these big exaggerated prints. But there was so much, the lighting fixtures had to be custom made.
But
Not in all the different pipe work inside the vaults. I mean, they were vast. Our set took up like 3 different stages. It was really huge. But my favorite set out of all was our backlot set, which was Philly.
yeah,
And
your
it was
Philly set, I mean, that's like I don't know how you I don't know how you did that.
It's like a really cool set to work on, because it's supposed to be Philly, like meant on like a landfill. And everything basically that you saw, set deck, we got all like the building materials, so because that's what we do. So it was like I found old doors and old, corrugated metal and any kind of element that we found, airplane parts. The art department basically put into this set and built out buildings and different little shelters from anything that we found. So it was all about hunting and scrapping and just finding all of these great things.
Did you go to dumps and find shit? Like
Yeah,
I
we
don't
went to
even
scrap yards.
I
We were
mean,
in dumps. We were on, Facebook Marketplace. If
yeah,
anyone had junk, we bought it.
free shit. Yeah.
Architectural salvage for different doors and things.
Yeah.
I went out to California to the airplane,
Oh, yeah.
scrap yard. I bought so many airplane parts and things like that. It was a really, that set was so big and so chock full of stuff, and it was just really it was a fun, I can't even explain, a fun project to work on. And the sad thing is you didn't get to see half of it,
Oh.
but it was fun doing it.
I know,
Um,
I should say, looking through the pictures that you sent, you don't get to see half of it. And that's
yeah,
true with like a lot of pictures
yeah.
that were sent. You don't get to see like the details and stuff. And I mean, I know that for myself, so I definitely took advantage of looking at all your pictures because
But
it's
anything
like,
that we had to make, like the Nuka-Cola machine, we had to find the different parts to make it look like a Nuka-Cola machine. So it was like finding an old Coca-Cola machine and then different little pieces to add on to it to make it look like the real thing, or like our milk machines, all the different pieces that are inside the game. We had to, or I was responsible of making it come to life,
mm,
with like the art department. It was really hard because we had people trying to get on our set. They were, taking pictures all the time, trying to, already saying, "Oh, this looks horrible so far. They're never going to get the look of the game." Um, it
that
was a lot of pressure.
that's pressure.
So I would come home at night and my son would basically, because I never heard of Fallout. He would like walk me through the game, like put the game on, and we would go through the game and stop and like look around and take photos. And it was really strange, like doing your research inside of a video game.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Alessandra, how many times did you read Ripley?
How many times did I read?
Yeah. Did you have to read the book over and over? No. No.
Well, no,
No.
no, not really.
No.
No, no. But it was interesting to catch exactly the direction that Steve wanted to take. That
Yeah.
was the main goal. It happened very quickly. It happened on one day that we were just alone. Was a Friday night, and we were adjusting the panels of the shower in the SRO bathroom, which we shot entirely in Italy. And of course, I'm a very shy person, but in that moment, I had the path, in front of me, because adjusting centimeters, inches by inches with Steve, and agreeing on a very, very small level of balance.
Mm.
It was exciting because after that, I start running,
Mhm.
and it was really exciting, really,
Right.
really exciting. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is. I think too, you're talking too about the trust level. Like when you get there and you have that trust level on the set, or you just feel like, okay, now I can like relax a
Yeah,
little bit.
or
These are
finding
my set.
yourself
Yeah.
on the same tune,
Yeah.
with this wonderful director. And yes, we had a great relationship. And finally, after months and months, um, he was so happy because in every set, I was putting few little things, just little props, little pieces of dressing, and it was kind of a game because he was hunting for interesting pieces, not required, not in the script. I remember in the chiropractic office, and I prepared for him this glass cabinet full of pieces of bones and stuff. Of course, nothing went really on set,
Mm.
but he was so excited, and he was shooting through skulls and pieces of hands and stuff. And then he thanks me saying, "Oh, every set for me is a treasure hunt." And this was fantastic, because this was exactly what he wanted.
Mm.
Be excited by little details that were lighting up the whole room, the whole set. And in a way, it was kind of working backwards.
Right.
You were putting a little object, and then from that object he was doing their thing, and it was really impressive. Nothing was casual, nothing had to pop up, and this kind of balance was a constant tension uh, to reach. Also because he's a great dresser, he was moving all the things. At the very beginning, I was kind of jealous because I wanted to do it. but then he has such a graphic vision. I understood that he had to do him himself, adjusting the little shelf, the comb and all the other pieces, making it perfect. And it does show, in the final results. Yes, it was exciting. Absolutely.
How do we all feel about the lighting? Because I know we all, especially in your periods that you all had to do, the lighting that you had to deal with, especially like black and white, or like the candlelight, or the wonderful period shades that, you had to deal with. Like, did you have any specific challenges with lighting?
Oh, yes. On Shōgun, we definitely did because
You did.
his, history tells us many different many different ideas on what was used, and of course, we built probably over 1,000 different types of light fixtures that could be used with our DPs and the lighting that they needed. But they were basically our advisors. Um, we would use a type of candlelight with basically a wick and rapeseed oil, and some of those were lit by gas, some of them were lit um, as almost a candle, and everything was built from scratch. We would build the appliques from that would go on, say, for the lighting in the palace. And then, of course, they were converted onto multi-channel tapes that were used, and we had to adjust the height of the flame and pour molds that looked like rapeseed oil dishes, so that they could light that set effectively in the ceremonial hall and the palaces. And so the lighting became more complex than we've ever dealt with in the past. I mean, we had an opportunity to use some more traditional type um, fixtures that we also built for in the mission and things like that, where we actually had, a large table and furniture. But again, everything we built, we took frames of chairs, rebuilt, stripped them right down, added leather, put everything on them ourselves. Some of those chairs actually even were built with textured wallpaper to make look like leather to get the right engraving in there. But the actual the lighting itself was extremely complicated, and like I said, everything required pouring a mold and then trying to take it in a way that the DPs could use it and be able to film it today. So it definitely was a challenge and a lot of fun.
Yeah, the lanterns were beautiful. They were really beautiful. I was thinking with Regina too, the neons in Philly, and like and even in Philly with the when they were in the stores, and those shafts of light that came in, and like just really beautiful shots that they got that were available to them. That was really beautiful. Even though it's such a dirty place. It was really yeah.
But I just think it's normal these days. I mean, we have to work really closely with the DP and the gaffer, and getting the lights. And I just feel like our practicals light the sets no matter what the period is. And whatever we get nowadays has to usually go to the shop electric and get gutted, and LED strips or whatever have to be put into them, or even if we do oil lamps or anything. So I have to say, in the beginning, when I started doing like lighting the sets for everybody, I didn't really appreciate it because they would never give us the lighting budget. But I think it's the norm now, and
Yeah.
it's just what we do, and I kind of like it, and it builds a relationship that I've never really had before, like with the gaffer or the DP. So
Yeah.
I like doing it.
Yeah, it has become a much bigger part of our job, and I like it too. I do think budget wise it's a bigger discussion, and I think it's becoming a bigger discussion, and getting there for that. Um Ellen, how about all those pretty lampshades you got, and like all the like that was fun.
We built a lot of them.
You did? Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, they had a lot of it's manufactured. just wanted to get the style that we needed, and again the fabric selections needed, and that quality of light that we wanted, and so and most lampshades are not in great condition and not in great shape,
No,
and so
especially rentals.
yeah, we had to rebuild them and make them, which gave us a lot of creative license, which was really great. And then, all the chandeliers, we had tremendous chandeliers all over the place, and finding,
Oh, yeah.
they had to all be authentic antique chandeliers. You can't buy the new ones. The crystal that, gives off a prismatic coloring that is not great. And so we, bought a lot of antique chandeliers, and a lot of them we had to completely rewire because they were not in great shape and that type of thing. And then finding the quantities that we needed. We had a lot of sconces in a lot of the spaces, and we needed multiple sconces. And a lot of times you can't find, 6, 8 pairs of sconces exactly the way I wanted them to be. And so then it was pairing, 4 of one type with another 2 of another type, and making them all work together, um, in an environment. So, and then working with the DP closely, and just getting that right color, that amber light, that beautiful amber light in those spaces, was really important.
Alessandra, was it hard to find period lights that worked well in black and white that gave off enough, like lampshades and stuff like that? Was that hard? Oh,
Well, I have to say that I collect period old lampshades because I
I hope you
hate.
rented them to the show. I hope you got a rental on that.
I just take them. I mean, I push them somewhere. I have in a place I
Yeah,
had.
but I hope
But
you charge the
I'm
show
really,
for that.
I'm really fond of them because I think it's in original lampshade changes all,
Yeah,
and you can't really use it in certain circumstances like Ripley, just new ones.
yeah,
And it's not only a matter of fading, it's not only a matter of style. It's they are, the new ones, they simply don't work. So yes, we had a lot to do about shades, and again, because the light had to, complement this noir atmosphere, and it wasn't really easy. And I remember that Robert had, a passion from one single lampshade that we drag it from set to set up to Venice, where finally he had his shot with Ravini, and it was a very old lampshade, but I knew that it was amongst all of them the winner. So, I never ever use really new lampshades, or, very rarely I get them redone. There is one place in Rome, very old, takes, a month to redo a lampshade. So, you have to pray and all that. But the result, yes, it's a company dated back from the Dolce Vita. So,
oh my God.
and they're right in the center. They're never in time, but I really love them because my nature is to love, and um, going after all the last artisans, all the last arts and craft that we have in Italy, and uh, because I think that's the really joy. So yes, the lampshades were always, you know carefully considered and taken care of.
Yeah,
But yes, I have the passion.
yeah. All
And
right.
you would get that passion from Italy and the lighting. It is so beautiful there. We go there and I am just in awe at everything we see.
Mm.
Oh, really? Mind you, we don't have, we don't have possibly to rent. We don't have so many rental companies, hire company in Italy anymore. It's since 10 years, 15 years that we are based almost on antiques and private collectors and all of that, which is really doubling up your time of searching. But in a way, I think it's lucky and we are lucky because we are forced to find the right piece. When you go to a rental company, you said, okay, I can do with that. But if there aren't enough, if there isn't enough staff in the rental company, you have to go to Milan or you go abroad or all of that. And it's worth it because at the end you get the most wonderful pieces.
Do you have like a, this is gonna sound dumb. Do you have like a Facebook marketplace, like a online?
Oh yes.
Yeah, yeah, right? I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah,
it sounds
yes. It
dumb, but
depends
like,
from the project, but I
yeah.
did a TV series right before the pandemic and was in 1980, 1985 and all of that. And I bought everything on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
I
great,
keep doing it.
it's
I
the only
want
thing
to
it's
learn
good for. Yeah.
but because it's very good. It's nice.
Okay, here's, now I get really nervous because I gotta share my screen. And here's where the whole thing, this whole thing could collapse right now. Hold on. Here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Good.
There we go. Can see everybody. Let's get rid of me. It's all you. There we go. Yay, I did it. Okay, here are our Emmy nominated set decorator roundtable. Here's your departments. We all know there's a lot more people, especially in our set deck departments to that get us to where our sets need to be. So and there's a lot more people that should be on there, but here we go. We're gonna do Fallout first. Let's see. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Here we go. Fallout. There's Regina's set. Look how beautiful. So this is just one of the shelters, correct?
So that's inside the vault.
In vault.
And this is actually, this was the honeymoon suite. And basically this is like taken right from the game. Flooring.
Also, if
uh,
anyone has not seen this first episode, the first episode of Fallout is like ridiculous. It's ridiculous, the first episode. It's crazy. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
fun show.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
well written. Trust me, when I was reading it, I'm like, what is this?
yeah,
Because like I said, I never played the game.
yeah.
But basically, if you've never played the game or seen what Fallout, been inside one of the vaults, this is a typical vault. And inside the game, you can buy them. So the flooring, like I said, the wallpaper was we designed that ourselves. The everything is very large, oversized, very colorful, and it has like this kind of retro 50s futuristic vibe going for it. Um, the cabinetry and everything we had built in our metal shops, and then I had to find all like the little details and things to add in to make it look like it came from the game. But a lot of it, like I said, is found furniture, antiques mixed with new
Hmm.
mid-century knockoffs. The piping and everything, the set decorating department is in charge of all the little doodads and gadgets and hardware. We do the lighting, like I said, in here was purchased, but in the hallways was all custom made.
I
And I
love.
do want to say on Reddit and all the trending, social media groups that with all these Fallout fans, they really did like the inside and they said we nailed it. So I'm really happy
There
about
you
that.
go. There you
Yeah,
go.
that was all I was worried about. Were the
Yeah,
kids.
the
I
kids
didn't want
liked
them to
it.
rip me apart.
There you go. This set is so fun.
So that's one of our overseer's office.
I love that desk. It's crazy.
And that also was pulled from the game. But we have, I think, 3 or 4 different overseer's office, and we basically designed them the same exact way because we use the same set for that. And we just move the furniture around and their little seating areas. Like I said, I bought a knockoff mid-century set and then bought it in different colors, and we just had themes for each overseer. But the Napoleon painting, all the paintings and the different artwork. We actually got the assets from Bethesda. Bethesda is the company that design and owns Fallout.
Mm.
So we got all the assets. So we printed all the artwork that's actually in the game and put it in the show. But the Napoleonic painting in the back. That's the president of Bethesda. I forget his name, but I thought that was like a little
Oh,
funny
they must
twist.
have loved that.
They
They
did.
must have loved that
They had.
detail. And then here is your.
That's our Philly set I was talking about. And this was built on the back lot over at Steiner Studios in Brooklyn. Um, and everything
It's incredible.
that you see set dressing bought and scavenged. And I mean, it's just scraps and wood and furniture. And we have, there was a automobile shop, there were modunes, there was a dentist slash barber shop. We had an apothecary. We had bathrooms there, and this is where Lucy comes to look for her father, and this is also where the ghoul meets Lucy for the first time. Um,
Hmm. Did
and but
Can I ask you this? Was it called out that it was like a barber shop, or
it was.
did you find stuff and then you made it a barber shop?
No, these they were called out. I mean,
Mm.
this was all drawn out. It was actually a lot bigger, and I was really depressed because then they kept on making it smaller and smaller. But um, called out as a barber shop because inside the game it's based on Fallout 78 and or 76 and another Fallout. Um, but that was called out. The automobile shop was called out. Ma June's was called out. All the different little shelters were built and not built, like designed. And then the art directors were just like, go crazy. What can you find? And we would find, like I said, the airplane parts and the scoreboard, um, just tons of scrap metal, garbage, all around the top where you see up on where the Nuka-Cola neon is up above that bus.
Hmm.
The whole, it was basically contained inside of, they're all shipping containers. And it was blacktop. And then above the shipping containers, we welded these massive pieces of like armature full of garbage. And we welded the garbage onto all of it. So I mean, it was like I said, you saw a lot of the other photos. There was just so much going on there. It was also, we were building this during, it was like a heat wave in New York City, and being on that blacktop surrounded by, all the containers, it was just so hot.
Yeah, I
It was
don't
like
have. I
110 degrees. We had a medic on set. There were people that were passing out, but I had the best set dressing crew and our scenics, our art department. I mean, it was a total collaboration. It was really a sight to see. That's the inside of a section of Ma June's. So Ma June is kind of like the junk scrap shop where people come and they buy different things that they might want, like comic books and Nuka-Cola stuff, and who else knows what they need, but they pay for it with like their teeth or
right,
bottle caps.
right.
But it was a
Trading.
fun set to do.
Um,
Here's more of Ma June's.
I love the wire lamp, like it's like a graveyard of lamp.
Oh, it was like all the different lampshades. So
Yeah.
basically, I was just trying to find things that we can shoot through and that were interesting, and every single piece of set dressing in this set was a purchase. And up above, I don't know if you could tell, but the roof was made out of big factory windows that we found. Um,
So so is this still standing?
no,
Oh.
so no, that's not still standing. So we ended up turning after we shot it as Philly. Then we shot it again for the Brotherhood of Steel. Like the Brotherhood of Steel came and took it over. And then we needed a barbecue shack. And we basically turned the inside of Ma June's into a barbecue shack restaurant. I'm not sure if you saw the part with the ghoul
Oh yeah.
and he cuts the guy's finger off or he's sewing his finger. But we
Oh,
turned that place into a huge barbecue with a bar and a restaurant area probably within a week.
oh my
And then
God.
at the end of the show, it was really depressing. We took everything, knocked everything down, and
That's so
tried to scrap
depressing.
what we can and give away things. But
But is it
yeah,
coming back?
it is coming back, but
Oh,
it's going to California.
oh, God.
Long way from Brooklyn.
Yeah. They'll probably pack all those sea vans with all the dressings and send it out. Oh
There's
my
a lot
God.
of dressing that was sent out there. A couple
Oh
of
my
tractor
God.
trailers full.
That's crazy. Beautiful. I mean, Ugly, beautiful sets, Regina.
Yeah. Like I
That's
said,
a
it was a lot of
lot.
fun doing this. Like you said, you love a dirty set.
Yeah,
It
I
was
bet I
really
do.
fun to just go and I mean, but it was a massive amount of stuff. There's
I
just
love
so much stuff.
I love a dense, dirty set.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's just fun putting all the layers in, layer
Yeah.
after layer, and
Well,
yeah.
speaking of a dirty set, here comes Ellen. Here's this filthy shit. It doesn't get more dirty than this, Ellen. I mean, if yours isn't so
100%.
pristine, to go from one to the next. This
I
is
have
why there should not be, this is
That way you
why,
started with me, get the dirty out.
no, this is, well, this is why it shouldn't be, there should be two categories, and that's why I'm fighting for it, because this is ridiculous to have these things up against each other. So, yes, I'm fighting very hard to not have this happen. But these sets are also phenomenal. Look at that shandy. Look at that.
chandelier is incredible. It's a Russian chandelier. It's fantastic.
Mm,
Uh, I have to say, I love myself a dirty set too.
yeah.
The set destroy is so like build and then destroy. That one's fun too. Um, but this was a complete opposite. This was, working in the absolute upper echelons of society,
Yeah.
and high Palm Beach society, where wealth and money and is really the money is no object to this the inhabitants of Palm Beach.
You had such a fantastic color palette to work with wardrobe and the wall, like John Carlos's color palette, and it's really
Yes.
stunning.
So we had we established some color tenants really early on, and it was so that the inhabitants of Palm Beach, the ladies of Palm Beach, would stand out in their environments. So the colors were a little more muted. And when you went into West Palm Beach, um, this, the people who inhabited West Palm Beach blended more into their environment,
Mm.
and so their environments were bolder and brighter, and their clothing was the same, and so they really sort of melded into their environment.
Mm.
Um, Whereas here, um, the ladies, when they walked into the space, they stood out, and we worked with Alex Freeberg, the costume designer, on every single set, and down to each piece of furniture. If I was upholstering something in stripes, I would call Alex and say, are you putting them in striped bathing suits, or are you going to put them in floral bathing suits? So I want to make sure my stripes are the right width for the costume that you're going to put them on. And we would go back and forth all the time. And so would John with Alex, and make sure that the costumes really fit within the environment.
Mm.
And so this is the smoking room to the parlor. This is at the Delacorte Mansion. And smoking rooms back in the 60s were traditionally very dark wood, masculine environments. And this is Norma's environment. And Norma is, she's a bold, fierce woman, and she's the grand dame of Palm Beach. And this is her bar room. And so we wanted to put a little bit of feminine twist on it, but still with some really dark elements in there.
Mhm.
And we took some of the fabrics that were traditionally like male fabrics, like a houndstooth fabric or a suit fabric, that type of thing, and I upholstered the chairs in houndstooth that was more in a pink flare, and the other chairs were done in like Chanel suit type of fabric, and so it was a nod to the masculine, but with a feminine twist on it. And so that's what went on here. And then the barware, each set of barware was selected for Norma, and each piece was like, would Norma actually purchase this? And they were really fun sets of barware that was in there, all vintage. Um, which is a great environment. And on the other side of this, which I don't know if you have a photo, was the puppeteer display and the fabric that was painted to go along with that puppet display. She's that grand puppeteer of Palm Beach.
I know you had the swan piece, but when I blew it up, it got too muddy, so I put this one in because I thought this was fantastic.
Thank you. This is part of the parlor. And in here is one of the bird cages. There were multiple bird cages in the parlor, and again, that was a nod to Norma. The ladies of Palm Beach were all very bold and flamboyant. A lot of them were like birds. I mean, so we had lots of bird cages in there, and to sort of trap, almost like Norma wants to entrap these different ladies. So much so I had two really giant bird cages in there, and I put in small chandeliers in them, as the ladies are these bright, shiny characters, and Norma's goal is really to entrap them, which is what her Rolodex is all about. She's got dirt and the skinny on everybody so that they do exactly what she wants. And these environments were inspired by Tony Duquette. He was so bold, so theatrical. He was really fierce in his and very avant-garde. And so we took a lot of inspiration from him and stacked multiple paintings on top of one another, and ignored moldings and things like that. He had a really uh, contemporary, it's somewhat of a contemporary way of approaching traditional interiors, and we wanted to embrace that in the mansion.
I do think too there in a lot of the sets there's so many plants. You get away with so many plants too, and the palms and everything that like really lends to Palm Beach, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's really nice.
So that actually this was built on a stage at Paramount. And when we brought all the plants in from what we call Jurassic Alley, because we take them out every time we weren't shooting so that they wouldn't die, and we bring them back in, and all of a sudden it would create its own atmosphere within. There would be a humidity that would be brought onto the stage because there were so many plants brought in.
Oh my God. No, they're beautiful. Beautiful sets. Beautiful colors. Here we go.
Yeah.
And now we go to no color. Sorry.
Oh, by the way, I love them all. I love all these, nominees. I
Yeah.
think that is so special that we are all different,
Yeah.
one from the other, and I think that we should all win.
I know. I know.
I was thinking today, how can you choose?
I
Anyway,
know. You're all winners till you lose. That's how I always feel. It's like you're a winner till your name's not called. It's a bummer. It's such a bummer. But yes, I agree. I mean, they're so different in every aspect. I mean, the periods are different, the stories are different. It's just amazing work. I mean, look at this. Look at your work. Look how layered and beautiful this is.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
That was the first set, and this was the one that I was saying. It was ready 5 weeks before shooting.
Hmm.
So to give Steve and the actors the facility to have every day rehearsal, little changes. We sat in this salotto many hours, just discussing the various and the details, and it's been a kind of built up slowly but regularly, because I started with tape off at the very beginning, all the sets and the sofa and everything, and but I had to let construction finished. That was my problem,
Yeah.
and so, but still, I knew that Stephen wanted to starting to fill the set as soon as possible. We had a session before when they all went to America all of a sudden, and I was there alone, just deciding which direction to take. So, but that was easy because the direction was. We have the reference of a real apartment that he liked, and it was in Via di Monserrato, which is a really Renaissance uh, area quarter in Rome, in the center. So there was no doubt of where he wanted to lead, and again, it was very dark, and it was the right choice. But all the paintings, we've been working on them, very carefully. They all originals, many from Renaissance. The big one on the fireplace, it's an original from the Filipino Lippi school, and all of that. But how we got here, I don't know. How I've got here, I've no idea. It was a daily tension to find the right piece, and checking with Steve. And I remember one day I had, oh yes, that's the one I like a lot, because this is really nice and bold and severe and masculine. Because Manu, in that area was the area with all the cardinals and the black noble was living, So there was a kind of monastic feeling that was matching perfectly the idea and the character. So yes, I love this one. Look at the lampshade over there. It's original painted by hand, and we built the sofa in a dark gray with the finishing in black. It was really nice. It practically, all the furniture was black tone or ebony, and yes, where you have those, glimpse of reflections now and then from the marble that it doesn't appear here. But I remember one day I was ready with the bath already, but construction wasn't ready with the structure. And so I made I make a mock-up, an oval in plywood, and I put it in the bathroom. So after a couple of hours, Stephen was, lying on that piece of wood, already trying to fill the space. And that was really an example of how we were working, day by day, checking, testing. Very, very often, David and Steve were coming to the warehouse, where I was already preparing the SRO bedroom because the construction wasn't already finished. So Steve very often was just lying on Tom's bed, and we had the most various conversation. And I have to say that this, that this proceeding, creative proceeding, created really a big bonding, a big bond in between, David, me, Robert, and Steve. So there was no doubt of the results. And it was, again, a joy and honor for me. And, I spent 1 year totally mesmerized about this, and not hearing anything, not wanting to see anything else, not wanting to be distracted from anything else.
Can I ask, what color is the leather chair in light? Is it?
It's dark. It's dark leather.
It's a dark
It's
brown.
a kind of, yes. It's a kind of. I wouldn't say testa di moro. It's a little bit lighter and warmer, but it reads very, very, very well because it's not black, but it really contributes to the idea of being black, even if it wasn't. The surface of the coffee table is dark brown.
It's funny.
The
It's funny because not until you started to talk about the color of the sofa, because I've watched this, I just accepted that it's black and white. I didn't think about, I wonder what color the sofa is. Do you know what I mean? I just accepted your world of these tones and how beautiful they all are. But then I started to wonder, well, I really wonder, because the chair is so intricate to the story, like when the investigator comes to sit down and everything. So you created such a
that was a
beautiful
big thing. We had
Yeah.
4 to choose from, 6, I have to say. The 2 we elbowed, immediately, because our actor Ravini had very long legs, and they were all the process of adjustment of the pose where he was sitting, and the cushion on his back, we changed its shape many times. And then yes, and then we choose this one that was actually from London,
Mm,
but
that's
was the
beautiful.
right one. Yes, we have a, really the facilities of having a lot of time prepping,
Mm.
and or at least going through things. Yeah,
I put this in, I love this detail you had.
yeah,
This
yes.
is
This is a
Dickie's.
piece of wood
Yeah.
that with a old work of somebody unknown, which I found in a old bookshop, and then ended up in, on close up all the time, because there was something perfect with that. It wasn't showing off. It was telling enough. It was interesting enough, and basic enough. Was just slat of woods together. And it was very casual. Yeah, this found it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Who did you like? Whose sets did you like better, Dickie's or Tom's?
Well, in a way, one complements the other,
Yeah, that's true.
because I liked Tom because it was the perfect place in Via di Monserrato, the perfect, house in Via di Monserrato. And because if you go around and knock at doors and things in the real palaces, in the real buildings, they kind of all have this feeling, of the past, of severe monastic and a little bit pope-like,
Yeah.
And whether Dickie's is the, there is a photographer, which is Gardini, Gianni Berengo Gardini, which is one of the most important black and white photographs in after the Second World War, and he was picturing the kind of very high, good class, not the high class, but the bourgeois all around, and that was my inspiration for Dickie's.
Mm.
Where you get those casual way of living, not showing off, but you can see, an understatement, behind it, and really money that doesn't need to show,
Right.
and that was to me very interesting.
Yeah. They do complement and contrast very beautifully.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Beautiful. Um, all right. Our last but not least, Shōgun. When I interviewed Helen, I didn't know where to start. There was just so many sets. I didn't know where to start. I was glad you guys had sent photos, because I was like, oh, good, I don't have to pick anything. I did add one at the end because I had to ask something, but all of all of this that you had to build and decorate is just also another completely different, completely phenomenal type of set. It's crazy. How many of these, and it's a whole village. I mean, you guys had like football fields full of like houses to build. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Jonathan, how did this go?
How did this went very well, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, you can see it, everything in there is something we built in the shop. Looking through and remembering it all, it's we had some very talented guys that were working with us, and they were able to steam the wood to bend the baskets. And the cart that's sitting there was mimicked off an original from our reference photos. So we've had the general sizes. I don't think we actually had that original one sent to us from Japan. We talked to Harada, one of our advisors, in through the translator, was explaining which purpose each cart served, depending on where you were in the status of the society. Which really there was, the samurai, which were up closer to the top, and then the peasants of the village. This is sort of our samurai village, so it's that medium level of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So we I mean, everything that we did here, even that net hanging there, we had to get the rope from Japan, and we had one of the set dressers learn how to tie knots. And, we sat there. I think he sat there for 4 days, and he hated me very much for doing that. Uh, but we figured it out, and we through, and we have quite a few throughout the set itself.
And right down to it's actually the sets are so complicated and they have such a beautiful simplistic mood, which was so important for our actors to get in and to be able to get into character in these villages that were historically true to life. And one of the things that Helen had a tremendous vision, and we had so much fun taking her illustrations and really bringing them to life, and then adapting them as was, the advice from our advisors as we went through this. But even if you look in the doorway, a lot of these houses were dressed inside, and you can take something as simple as, if you're looking at the picture to say the right of the brazier, you would go inside and you'll see sort of some straw hanging there. Well, that actually is a complete straw cape. It's called a mino, and it's a traditional Japanese raincoat. And so, again, it was something that we had to learn how to make. Working with Carlos, the costume designer as well, he was able to do some, and we would take ours and mimic from his and our reference. And like I said, so it's the simplicity of the mood and how it looks, but each and every piece in there took took hands-on work to make. And I'll leave it to Jonathan because this set does blend into your lower Azuro and the Erasmus, and then back up through Osaka and the 40 shops that we dressed. And I'll let him continue.
I'm flashing back memories. The
Well,
yeah,
we have this.
just remembering everything that had to be done. Oh, nice. Those are great. Ones I haven't seen for a while.
Fish
Uh,
baskets.
yeah, the fish baskets, and we even made the stand where they put the heads. That was wonderful. Yeah, like how many? There's actually a number of heads that they have to hold, and there are rules upon that as well. So and the spacing between the Japanese culture is extremely interesting, and their rules are very strict on how things have to be done. Like it's the way they hang the fish on the right. There's a way you have to put it through the
Yeah.
gills. Now we did our best since we actually cast the fish out of rubber. They were a little easier to do, uh, and just just all the bits that are there. It's
Everything had such a very defined purpose. That was one part of it.
I think
Absolutely.
too, when you're decorating for for a culture and you want to have such a respect and do things correctly, and when you are lucky enough to have someone to, verify things with, you get into that maintenance of, or like this state of mind of you want to do this and so correctly, and this passion to present this so correctly. It becomes very important to us as decorators to present these things correctly.
Absolutely. And we had a huge support from the production itself. And I mean, in Justin and Rachel writing this, they had spent an inordinate amount of time making sure things were accurate, and it just followed through all the way through.
I think this one you have, I don't know if that's, oh yeah.
So there was several houses in this village, as well as when Blackthorn, he was given one of the samurai houses as well. And again, very important rules to whether they're on a fabric cushion, which again was everything that we made, or if they were on a straw cushion, and depending on what they were doing, or what they were eating, or um,
Who was attending?
again, those kind of rules to follow were very important. and there were several buildings. Offhand, I can't remember if it was 18 or 23 in this particular village.
Okay.
And then it went down to the lower Ajiro, which was the actual where Jonathan was talking later, the lower class people, the
picture.
peasants. They basically worked, and that's where the Erasmus came in at the beginning of the first episode, where East meets West.
I had pulled this one too because this to
There
me,
it is.
I mean, the inside of the ships and the jars and the cannons, and it was just spectacular.
Yeah, that's yeah. It's everything we did in the show. It's great. The cannons I can see because that was one of my. That's the one I really dove into. It was we did our research to figure out what the Dutch ship would actually have, which made the Dutch actually more deadly at sea. That's the history of their cannons being longer and more accurate. Even though they threw a smaller cannonball, they could hit an enemy at a longer distance, staying away from the range of the other guns. So that's part of the story attempted to be told here. And I think, I mean, for me, it was, but maybe not for everybody. But I mean, even looking back to where the hammocks are, we actually went back and found out what they would have been in them. There's a few ships that have been um, recorded in their interiors and things like that. So the hammocks are actually strung exactly the way they would have been
Mm.
in the 1500s. So mind you, the fabric's much newer.
Those are some great scenes in there too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
fun.
all the bits and pieces that you see inside the lower. This is inside. Sorry, the upper one to the left. That's actually inside the storage at Lower Jiro, where eventually Blackthorn gets covered in fish kettle. So all those pieces in there were researched, specified, built. All the wrapping around that is a very trade secret type of way. Yeah, that and up to the jars that held everything else.
Now is
Go ahead.
is Shōgun coming back?
Yes, it is. Where it's going to land, we don't know.
No.
At this time, it's still in the air. I know they only started in the writers' room last month, so it's still a ways away.
Ellen, is Palm Royal coming back?
It is. I just started this week.
Oh, look at you.
Yay.
Alexandra, I went down a rabbit hole and I read all of the Ripley series after watching Ripley. I don't know if that's coming back, but I've read all the books. Do you know if they're gonna do another?
Not at the moment.
No.
Nothing. No rumors about it. I know that Steve would like to start something new, but not a new Ripley at the moment. No.
Well, that David Grotman loves to work in Italy, so we might get lucky over there with him again.
Well, I have to say that the next one should be in France and Greece or something.
Yeah, he doesn't really stay. Yeah, he goes to
Yeah.
France. That's right. He goes and lives in France.
Yeah,
Get over
exactly.
there. Yeah,
Which I wouldn't mind to go.
yeah, let's do it.
Why not?
I'm going to stop my share. Let's see how that works. There we go. I'm back. I have one more question. Let's quickly, because I don't want to keep you too much longer. But I mean, I always like to commiserate and be like, oh, let's commiserate together. But let me ask you, what was your favorite part of the project that you are Emmy nominated for? Jonathan, what was your favorite part?
Wow, there was quite a few go through it. I mean, just actually, probably my favorite part was the first day I started. Then we started we started running into it, and it was we like Alessandra. We did have a pretty good prep time for this, just for the amount of stuff that we had to learn and get involved in. Seeing it, I mean, it would tie with actually when FX sent us the early version of the show, and I clicked play and started to watch it, and quite wow, okay, it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that those would be the two moments that were that.
Lisa? Would you concur?
I think the absolute favorite part was the research, working through the translator, learning to understand some basic Japanese, and having the discussion with the advisors. I truly enjoyed that part of it, and then getting the chance to work with the Japanese cast. And then further, you would go on to set in the morning, and you always have extra things on standby, or this and that. And being there to see how enthusiastic and how happy they were with the sets, and being able to provide more and other options, for both Helen and the actors, absolutely gave you such a feeling like you did it, you made it. Um, because Shogun was so hard, I truly do believe it was difficult, because everything had to be built. And so when you could see things get up to camera and see the joy in those faces as they step onto the sets, that is what makes you put 110 into the next one,
Yeah.
and just keep going.
That's awesome. Regina, what do you think? What's your favorite?
I think the favorite part for me is like the collaboration with the crew and my crew and just everybody on a day-to-day basis, and everyone working together, and from PAs to the people in the office to art department, I mean everybody, and just seeing this project come to fruition and just walking on set and just seeing it all come alive. That's the best part for me always.
Yeah, it is
It's very,
crazy.
very rewarding.
It's crazy how many people it takes. It's crazy.
It takes an army.
Alessandra?
Well, of course, I have to say Venice because it was, a city where I lived quite a bit. But also because there was the Guggenheim, Peggy
Oh, yeah.
Guggenheim apartment, which, yes, it's a kind of, it stands on a side, but I was really, really excited to do it because it could have been ridiculous. And it did work very, very well because when the curator of the Peggy Guggenheim Museum came, he was, I mean, surprised. Uh,
Oh,
but I think that the goal was made with that set. Well, leaving alone that we had two original pieces from Peggy Guggenheim itself, herself, one of the nephews still alive. But for me, it was a great challenge, that one, funny enough, because it could have turned out really horrible, with those big white sofa that we couldn't even drag through the staircase. We had to, rent a barge with a crane, and I was completely, ashamed with the production, to all these productions, enormous sofas and all of that. And it was very risky in a way, I mean, doing, Tom's apartment, Dickie's, was much easier to me for funny reasons, because Guggenheim, well, she had a very special way of dressing and putting things together. And we managed to have, the best artists. I have original pieces in glass from Nazon, from all of that. So that was exciting.
Did you dress
And
that in Venice?
sorry?
Did you dress that set in Venice?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
In Venice.
Because
Yes.
that's where it was. Right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
where
yeah.
she
It was
was.
in
Yeah.
Venice, in a house facing the Grand Canal.
Mm.
And of course, also Polignac, where Tom Palazzo was interesting, was exciting, because we did all the fresco in the hallway.
Oh, wow.
We photographed them from an hotel, which is kind of, run down the, which has got the wonderful
that's fun.
frescoes, and we
That's
printed
cool.
with. But the Guggenheim set, I mean, it was really a challenge to me.
And that was hardly in it. That's
I know,
that's
but I've done it anyway.
I know what you've done. I know. Ellen, what was your favorite?
My favorite, I think, was really creating a world of maximalism and working with a crew of people who put in 110% of their effort, working with people who are so creative and so talented, and every person from from creators all the way to set dressers, everybody just put in the most incredible effort, and to come out with a project that we're all so proud of, I think is really rewarding. And having the actors come on set and really be just over the moon about their environments that they got to, that they were acting in, I think was really incredible, and really, um, just a nice thing to be able to do. And I think the research that went into it and researching all the different great interior designers of the day was a lot of fun. And imagining which character would hire which designer based on their personality and their designs, and really digging into those greats, the Dorothy Drapers of the world, and the Tony Duquettes and the Elsie DeWolfs, and really imagining which ones of these ladies would hire each designer, and bringing that personality to life and sets. And I think that was really quite enjoyable
Yeah,
to do
that's a
that.
fun one. That's a freedom. That's a good one.
It really was. There was freedom. They really supported the design, and gave us the ability, to create by giving us, the money to do so. And we had a budget we had to work with, but it, you know, we were able to create the world that we needed to create, which was really great.
I think that is key in all of this is support from who's backing these projects, is giving creative the resources to be able to produce these sets the way that they should be. And so I do applaud that. There is a huge difference being able to get the time and the resources, the prep time, all of that. So it's needed when you want to produce big projects like these. So yeah.
Like, really, you can't do it to that degree without it.
Yeah.
You absolutely need
And then having creative freedom to do that as well.
Yeah.
We produced our first set, and they saw what we were doing, and they really gave us creative license to just do what we do.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they enjoyed being surprised sometimes. Of course, we made presentations, and we had all different things going, but they really didn't get into the nitty gritty with us. They
The
really
trust. Yeah.
there was a lot of trust there. Um,
Well, I will see you. I will be there. I hope you all will be there. Get your dresses, get your tux ready. I hope that I will see you there. Good luck to all of you. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I love speaking with you. I love seeing all your work. And good luck. Oh, I don't. Yeah. Thank you.
Lovely meeting all of you as well.
Yes. Yes.